Yeah, going on to the next one. What's the hardest thing you've ever done? This is actually from somebody I was in dive school with. I won't mention any names. Um, but they said, "Are you ready for this? Masturbate after a circumcision. Wasn't allowed to stroke, so I just had to shake it." Let me read that again for those of you that didn't hear it. Masturbate after a circumcision. Wasn't allowed to stroke, so I just had to shake it. Oh boy. So this sounds very challenging. First of all, I've never masturbated to completion or attempted to by just shaking it. That is quite the feat in and of itself. But to do it, following a, later in life circumcision is crazy. And um, I kind of followed up with him, and I obviously had more questions about this because I think it's actually a fascinating topic. Is this idea of circumcision later in life, and just the whole idea of circumcision in general. And I mean, I can remember vividly the first time I ever saw a uncircumcised penis, and it was when I was a teenager. We I joined this group called United States Naval Sea Cadets, and it's basically think Boy Scouts, but a Navy version of that. It's kind of like junior naval ROTC, but that's more on the officer side. This is like practicing being enlisted while you're a teenager, and so I spent years in that program. But they did these like you would meet up once a month and kind of do things. And mine was at the Naval Reserve Center in Arkansas, and so we ended up spending a lot of time with the Seabees there because, as you know, in Arkansas there's not like an ocean to do Navy stuff. So we'd go to the range and shoot and spend a lot of time patrolling in the woods and stuff like that. So, anyways, I went to CB training during the summer. And so you go down for like 2 weeks. There's 2 week trainings all over the country. You could do different things and even like exchange programs to go around the world to other countries' navies. But I went to the CB training. It was like one of the first ones I did. After you go through like your first time you go to boot camp, your first summer. Um, but I went to CB training down in Biloxi, Mississippi, I believe. And I remember we were like, basically groups shower scenario, and kind of open showers. It's kind of the first time I experienced that, and I just see, boom, there's an uncircumcised penis, and I'll never forget that. That's real special moment. And dude, it's just like hearing him say this about him getting this late life. I used to Yeah, I mean, there's these crazy names for an uncircumcised penis. I don't know that everybody knows that, but I remember growing up, we'd call them ant eaters. Like the snout of an anteater. Later on, we'd call them hood rats. That's what my buddy would call them. We'd call them, oh, you got that hood rat, and but you know, I don't know. It's like, is it better to be circumcised or not circumcised? I don't know. Maybe there's argument for both ways. I think I've heard it back and forth and debated. I followed up with him though, and he said he did feel like basically he wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't do it again, and that he lost a lot of feeling during sex because I guess you have nerve endings, which makes sense, like in that, in your penis hood, and so he says sex isn't the same, but um, it was like every time I've talked about this, it's everybody mentions the word smegma, which is like probably one of the grossest words you could come up with. But people say that it gets dirty underneath there. If you can't wash it. But I think as we've advanced as a culture, I mean, if you're able to kind of shower on a regular basis, you probably don't have a problem with that. But I don't know. Some people say it's more risk of disease because, it's kind of like things can fester in there. I don't know. Tell me what you think. But I'll tell you what, I was just thinking about it when he told me this, and I was kind of thinking, man, what do they look like? I mean, you get the idea of the anteater, or people calling it a hood rat, which is kind of derogatory. But I think they kind of look like a a a tardigrade. You know what that is? It's that little. It's a micro animal. It's like that little. They call them water bears. Is another name for them. And look it up. Google tardigrade and tell me that doesn't look like an uncircumcised penis. Um, but yeah, I'll tell you what. Don't. Okay, before I get into that, they also look sort of to me what when I think of uncircumcised penis, it kind of brings to mind like those water snake toys we had back in the 80s. It was like or early 90s where it's this toy that like you hand it to somebody or whatever, and it's like you can't hold on to it. It just kind of like just keeps folding in on itself, and just like you can't get a grip on this thing, and you're always dropping it. It's kind of funny as kids, but like that's kind of what I imagine like trying to like as a if you're trying to maybe be in the sexual receiving side of uncircumcised penis. I feel like you just kind of like you're always trying to like hold the skin back, But I could be wrong, but I don't know. That's just what kind of I thought of is that water snake toy. Um, but so what not to Google? Do not Google female circumcision. I already did it for you. It's eesh. It's bad. Oh boy. Yeah, there's like 4 different categories. Basically, all of them. The clitoris is gone. There's different levels of sewing up the vagina, closed, and that's about. Yeah, I mean, if I think it's fucked up if we're still doing that to people. Geez, yikes. I think I was kind of like, oh, maybe, it's not that bad. We're not talking about a little like nip and tuck cleanup job here. Yeah, when you remove somebody's ability to have pleasure during sex, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say no. But yeah, I don't know if you feel like you need to educate yourself on it, Google it, but I did, and it does not look good. But anyways, on that note, yeah, sorry you lost your foreskin, bro, and I don't know. What do y'all think? Circumcision for guys, yay or nay? I don't know. Let me know in the comments.